Mid-season, and the dominant Supercats remain Bacardi Silver and WHM Motorsports. Their records and bravado stand apart.
Depends on what crybaby it affects.
You hear me out there? You better do your thinking.
But in this extreme sport, the only thing one can expect is the unexpected.
We're going to raise the bar. We're going to go a little faster than what we've been going and see what they've got for us.
It's probably one of the most famous clock towers anywhere. It, after all, starred in the Laverne and Shirley television show. And 100 years of motorcycles, that's what Harley-Davidson is celebrating this year, and this is the birthplace of that motorcycle. And also, it is Beer Town, USA, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and today, it's the GMC 2003 Pro Grade Championship Series. Hello, everyone. From Milwaukee, I'm Dick Crippen. Welcome to APBA Offshore Racing. We've got a great program for you today, and we have a former world champion who is here to tell us all about these races. His name is Bruce Penhall. Bruce, let's talk about this course and these big boats on this course.
You know, I can put it to you in a simple fact. We have 10 boats trying to squeeze into roughly about a quarter of a mile gap at over 120 miles an hour, Dick. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of nervous tension talking with the drivers and the throttlemen in the pits earlier on. They're a little bit nervous about this first corner. The course is within 7 miles, great for the spectators. However, it does pose a problem with the racers themselves.
And unlike a lot of courses, this one does not have just left-hand turns. It also has a right-hand turn. Let's take a look at how the course sets up.
Well, we're going to start in the mill. Obviously, the pace boat is going to bring the boats down from 5 to turn number 6. And around to turn number 1 to 2, they'll start picking up speed around 3 and into turn number 4. Now, this is when the race boats are really starting to go, and the green flag will drop right there going into dogleg number 6.
As we look now at the parade lap of the Super Cats, let's talk about points. You can see Bacardi Silver is leading, WHM Motorsports second, then Daytona Sun Times. Reliable Carriers and Airborne are right on their heels. Reliable Carriers has been coming on stronger each race. It's definitely one to watch.
And Supercat Racing, their catamaran hulls, 38 to 40 foot in length. They're canopied. They're not open cockpit. 9,500 pounds, 7,600 RPM is the limit. And Supercat Racing is at its finest today.
Boy, they have a beautiful day for it, and everybody has a strategy as to how they're going to do it. Let's take a look at the lineup, and we start with the boat that's furthest on the outside from the pole position, number 84. First time racing this season. It's Dominic Visconti Jr., the driver, Jim Dyke on the throttle.
And let's talk about Bacardi Silver. Driver is Hugh Fuller, throttleman Johnny Tomlinson.
This boat has been extremely strong, and this is the boat that has won every race thus far this year. Now third in from the outside as the boats attempt their lineup. We have the number 24 Airborne. That's Randy Leinbach and Bob Morgan. We saw Bob Morgan last week in the big PX boat. Now today he's in a Super Cat.
And starting in position number 4, that's the number 5 boat, driven by Billy Moff. The WHM Motorsports, throttled by Jose Pepe Lama. These guys have a point to prove today. They were awesome in Savannah.
We next go to the DeSantis Chevrolet boat, which is called Daytona Sun Times. Danny DeSantis, a car dealer out of Massachusetts, is the driver and owner of the boat. Charlie Hames, a veteran, is on the throttles. That is boat number 13.
And starting in position number 6, the number 20 boat of Reliable Carriers, driven by the rookie Tom Abrams and throttled by the veteran Jerry Gilbreth. These guys are somebody to watch today.
No question about that. And here's the Rum Jumpy team, still somewhat new. They started just the last race in Savannah. Tom Klingworth and Trace Martin, they'll be in position number 7, which is number 2 off the pole.
And all the way on the inside in position number 8, the father and son team of Tommy Bahama, number 41 boat, Paul Nemshoff and Mark Nemshoff throttling.
And they're from Sheboygan right up the coast. Here's the way they look on the back stretch as they come down for the start. Here comes the green flag. It is up off the GMC Pace boat. Here's a look back off of the onboard. Whoa, a little bit of hitting together. Airborne on the inside, a little bit too tight. Fighting for position as they come into that first turn. Everybody wants to be the inside boat. Obviously, only one is going to make it, and everybody else is going to have to go wide. US 1 closest to the camera, now trying to take the lead, trying to get up a little bit of speed as they go in. We are now on board the WHM Motorsports boat. Billy Moff and Pepe Yama.
And we're looking off the rear hatches of Bacardi Silver right now. Look at the guys starting to build up coming into turn number 1.
They are trying to get every ounce of speed out of that boat. As you can see, Bacardi Silver's on the outside. There's a boat on the inside vying for position. Wow! Look at WHM Motorsports. They go through the wake. They're kind of forced. Look at those two boats as they come together, just about knocking each other out. Reliable Carriers on the inside of Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson in the US 1. What a battle we've got going.
Wow, what a great first corner, as we thought that would happen. And Reliable Carriers on the inside position right now, going down the front straightaway.
Now remember, Reliable Carriers has Tom Abrams in there. He is a rookie driver. There you see the distance between first and second. Hugh Fuller and Johnny Tomlinson deciding to stay on the outside. We'll be back to see how this shapes up in a moment. Welcome back to Milwaukee for the 2003 GMC Pro Grade Series APBA Offshore. Fourth stop, presenting sponsor for this race, Daytona Harley-Davidson. And the leader thus far in the Super Cats, Reliable Carriers, Tom Abrams and Jerry Galbraith. This is the boat in second place. You see the wake action off of the leader. Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson in the US 1 Bacardi Silver trying to close them. Rum Jumbie holding right in there. Number 94, Todd Klindworth and Trace Martin.
And the other class today is Super Cat Lights, racing with the Super Cats today here. And let's have a look. Now they're coming down right now, Dick. They're almost ready for a green flag.
We take a look at the points, and obviously Liquid Metal has got to be favored here, but another one will be Dirty Duck. That's the crowd favorite. In Contempt, Page Racing, American Dream, and White Knuckles Racing. I think that's a great description of offshore racing. They're coming down for the start.
It certainly is. Super Cat Lights. They're catamaran hulls. Yes, they are canopied, 30 to 37 foot in length. Mercury HP 500 or EFI certified.
Super Cats coming in, and you can see White Knuckles now as they get ready. There's the start. White Knuckle Racing is the first one through the turn, and they are going to hold off the rest of the field for the moment. So White Knuckle Racing, number 36, has taken the lead in the Super Cat Lights.
Now it looks like the White Knuckle boat right now is running a little bit heavy, a little bit glued in. You can tell that the boat's not walking back and forth. You want to see these boats, the catamarans, chining a little bit back and forth. That's obviously getting air underneath them. Here's a great shot of Paul Whittier and Pat Patel in Contempt.
They are riding hard on the inside of the White Knuckle Racing team. There's more action back in the pack as they continue. This is good, solid racing now. Remember, they are racing with the Super Cats. Super Cats are still on the course. We'll see some intermingling as time goes on. That presents an interesting strategy for the driver and throttleman of the faster boats, in this case, the Super Cats.
And speaking of Super Cats, what a great shot of the Reliable Carriers boat leading this race. The number 20 boat, Tom Abrams, a rookie driver, and Jerry Gilbreth, the veteran throttleman.
Gilbreth returned to the offshore circuit this year aboard this boat, and I'll tell you what, he has been working on it. One of the top throttlemen. When he decided to lay out of racing for a while, he comes back in fine form. And look at this battle. The lead boat on the far side of your screen to the right, the second place boat, the white one, is the Bacardi Silver. And there, back in third, that is Rum Jumbie. But here is the lead boat. What a job these guys are doing, and absolutely have that boat running at peak speed, as does Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson. And we'll see if they can engineer a strategy. Remember, they have been undefeated this year. Meanwhile, these guys have to be just thrilled with third place, and they can see the lead boats. They maybe can close them down.
And new to Super Cat Racing this year, Dominic Visconti, but Jim Dyke, one of the veteran throttlemen, is doing a great job with Popeyes.
And right behind them is WHM Motorsports, and don't ever count out Billy Moth and Jose Pepe Yama. They are liable to pull something out of their hat before this race is over. In the lead, uncontested, no problem. That is Reliable Carriers, second place, the Bacardi Silver boat, the US 1, action galore here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Turn 2. They are still trying to battle it out for first place. I'm wondering if at this point, Bruce, if Reliable Carriers is just holding them off enough to save their boat and make sure they finish this race.
Well, what Reliable Carriers is also doing, Tom Abrams is taking the very inside of the race course, forcing Hugh Fuller to take a wider line, obviously the longer way around the racetrack.
And still battling and holding on to third is the boat you just saw, Rum Jumbie. Fourth place is the Popeyes boat. Boy, they've got that boat running well.
And speaking of having a great run, we had a chance to talk to Billy Moff about how the sport has evolved.
Competitiveness of what we're doing here is really comes down to owner, the driver, the throttle man, the setup. I mean, it's not like the old days where, whoever had the most amount of money won,
That is true, too, and they're getting a great show. And now the other thing that's really neat about today's racing is we have the tighter courses. And we'll be back to that tight course in a moment. Welcome back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We want to recognize the official Pace Boats supplier of the GMC Pro Grade Series. That's Donzi Marine Incorporated. On the course right now, we have Reliable Carriers in the lead in the Super Cats. Boy, this boat has just been terrific out there today. They took it right off the green flag.
And meanwhile, back to our other premier class, Super Cat Lights. Here's in contempt Pat Patel and Paul Whittier doing a fine job leading this race. He looks to be a little bit glued in, running the boat a little bit heavy, perhaps a little conservative, Dick.
Well, maybe he's kind of saving it for a little later on. Sandbagging has been known in this sport. Here's turn number 2. As you see, these boats coming out very, very tight. There's In Contempt taking a very wide line. Right behind them is the White Knuckle Racing Team. That's the yellow boat, believe it or not, number 36. But you can see he's riding on the inside of the wake of the lead boat. So he's really looking for his opportunity. So if indeed the leader is playing back a little bit, Pat Patel and Paul Whittier, they better be aware because they've got somebody right there. If they hiccup in that boat, they are going to have a problem and they're going to be passed up.
They certainly do. And In Contempt right now running the shortest way around the race course. And on the same race course, back to Super Cat Racing, we had a chance to talk to Jerry Gilbreth about strategies.
It's a combination of a lot of things. It is the props. It's the CG that you put in the boat if you want to put water in your ballast tank up and forward. And, when you go into the wind and into the waves, then you have to put a little more water in the front. And then when you go downwind, you got to dump the water and take it out so you can carry the bow the other direction.
And Bruce, we talk about a throttleman and we think just throttles, but in reality, he's setting trim. He's also setting the ballast. So he's got a lot to do out there, and the driver basically drives.
And he certainly does. And here's a great shot right now of Johnny Tomlinson and Hugh Fuller.
There's Rum Jumbie. That's Trace Martin and Todd Klingworth. That boat out of the Virgin Islands in St. Croix. Rum Jumbie has been new to the circuit, and they are trying to catch the leaders. Reliable Carriers in first place. Second place, the white boat, is Hugh Fuller and Johnny Tomlinson in the US 1. So far, they are holding on to second place. They challenged early in, but now they seem to be just kind of trying to set themselves up for something else in the future. Back in third place, not really in contention right now for second, but again, who knows what's going to happen? It looks like Hugh Fuller's trying to get to the inside and block on Reliable Carriers.
Now, Tom Abrams cannot give up that inside position right now to Hugh Fuller because he will take advantage of that in a big, big way. Tom Abrams needs to take the smaller way around the racetrack, and that's on the very inside.
I don't think there's any doubt that Reliable Carriers has got a strategy in the way they're running the course. Rum Jumbie staying very solid in third place right now. They're going to hold on to that. There's WHM Motorsports. He's trying to make a move, goes way to the outside on turn number 2 as they come straight down toward the camera. WHM Motorsports is trying to find some extra power. That rooster tail is very high as they accelerate. Then as the boat actually hits speed, the rooster tail falls down, goes parallel to the water. That's when you know they're developing good speed, as in this case, Popeye.
Dominic Visconti and Jimmy Dyke up there. Jim Dyke's got years of experience. Has won world championships in the UIM racing in Europe. This guy knows what he's doing. Billy Moff right there on the outside of him, trying to make something happen. Just can't seem to get the edge on Popeyes.
Further back in the pack, here's the airborne Big Thunder Marine, number 24. And there's a battle now for last place. The boat on the inside to the right of your screen is Tommy Bahama. This is a father and son team out of Sheboygan, Wisconsin. So they're kind of a hometown entry. Nearest to you is the Daytona Sun Times boat, and they are trying to pass Tommy Bahama. I must tell you, Tommy Bahama has not been racing this year. Therefore, that boat, they were hoping it would run a little bit better. I know they're very disappointed. They have now fallen back to last place. Let's take time out of our race action for the Vortec Engines Wake Zone.
Innovation Marine of Sarasota, Florida offers racers a GM Vortec engine leasing program that provides a full warranty throughout the race season and an on-site support team by GM engineers.
I run a tight schedule with my father as far as working, and we don't have that much time to sit around and test and to spend hours and hours and hours a week testing. When I come down to the races, I just hop in the boat and go. The rev limiters are going out of control. The second the race stops, the General Motors guys just hop on, put the computer on the boat, and just run some tests, make sure everything's running okay. And then, I haven't had in 2 years any problems at all. They say, okay, Richie, boat's fine. We put it in the trailer. We go back to work and wait for the next race. But at the end of the season, we actually give the engines back to General Motors. They run their tests, tell us if there's anything wrong, tell us what we've done. They more or less give us a printout of the year. Tell us exactly, how the engines were running, and then after that's said and done, wait until the beginning of the next season, get a call from the guys and say your engines are ready.
Back here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it's Reliable Carriers leading in the Super Cat races. Number 20 has dominated. We'll be back to more racing in a moment. We're back in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A great crowd on hand giving a loud cheer out there to all the racing action that they're seeing in the 2003 GMC Pro Grade Offshore Series. And here's your leader in the Super Cats. It continues to be Tom Abrams and Jerry Galbraith in Reliable Carriers.
Here's Bacardi Silver now trying to put the heat on Tom Abrams and Jerry Gilbreth in Reliable Carriers.
And we might say these boats are very even as we look at Rum Jumpy. We talk about Super Cats. They are built by Sterling Performance. These guys really want the very best in engines. Here's the Super Cat lights now. This is your leader in Contempt, Pat Patel and Paul Whittier. Paul actually owns the boat. I like the name In Contempt because Pat Patel's an attorney. I mean, why not?
And here's a great shot of White Knuckles in the Super Cat Light Series. These guys are running second place, and right behind him in Super Cat Lights is John Talley and Bob Teague.
That liquid metal boat has performed very beautifully across the circuit so far, but today it is not matching up to the leader in the class, Super Cat Light, In Contempt. Great job. These guys are really getting that team together, and they deserve an awful lot of credit. There's White Knuckle Racing one more time in the Super Cat Lights, holding on to second place.
And they're very, very conservative today, but putting in a strong, strong race. Bob Teague with liquid metal, running a little heavy today. You can see the boat's running a little bit flat in the water, as opposed to Pat Patel right now and Paul Whittier. You can see it going back and forth in the spots and running it perfectly.
And a little bit of a challenge now is In Contempt on the inside, and on the outside, it's White Knuckles, the yellow boat to the left of your screen. This is a battle for first. Bruce, we might point out also that these boats are using fuel as they go. That is poundage. In other words, they are lightening up as they continue in this race.
And we've heard this so many times from all these crews. Well, look at this race right here, right now. What a great pass by White Knuckles, getting by Pat Patel and Paul Whittier in Contempt.
Oh, they're riding very high, but I'll tell you what, Paul Whittier and Patel are not giving up easily as they go through that turn. They are going to hold it in there, and they are going to take back the lead on the inside.
Again, we're talking about the shortest way around the race course on the very inside. Paul Whittier knows his way around the race course, doing a fine job.
Let's take a look at our offshore community.
As national security and safety has become a primary concern for us, the United States Coast Guard has instituted a citizen involvement campaign known as Eyes on the Water.
The Eyes on the Water campaign is a maritime awareness campaign to encourage the general public to report suspicious activity, not to act on the activity, but to report it to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard isn't that small. We're not everywhere at the same time. So to have the public looking out, the public is there on the waterfront. They know what is unusual. They know what's suspicious. And if you see something suspicious, report it. And then we'll take it from there. We'll respond and work with local, state, and federal agencies to figure out what's going on. If you see anything suspicious, people diving where they're not supposed to be, boats unattended, anchored where they typically aren't, hunting and fishing around piers, oil facilities, please call 1-800-424-8802 or contact the Coast Guard on Channel 16 or call your local police on 911.
Back on the course, in the waters off downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin, reliable carriers loving this northern water and northern air. They have first place over this boat, the US 1 Bacardi Silver.
And Run Jumbie right now running in third place. As you said, Dick, they're starting to lighten up the boats. The boats are going to be running a little bit looser right now as the race progresses.
And there back and forth is the Popeye boat. Now, this is the first time on the circuit for this boat, but Dominic Visconti has that boat running beautifully. A little bit of tiptoe there, and we see the same thing from WHM Motorsports. Now, as you look down on these boats, understand, as we look at the leader in Supercats, the helicopters are having trouble staying up with these. They only top out at 120 miles an hour. We talked about Sterling Performance Engine. Let's talk to Mike D'Anibal, the president of Sterling Performance.
The Supercat rules have tried to create something of a contained class to try and limit some of the costs. So you are limited to cubic inches, you're limited to certain cylinder heads, certain carburetors, and with that, what it's done is it's made building the motor, the detail that goes into the engine is much more critical, because now finding 5 and 6 horsepower is much more difficult than it was with the old days.
But that's what's made it so great also, Bruce, because it's evened everything out. And boy, that means the driver and the throttleman have to be working as one to make these boats perform.
It certainly is, and we keep getting back to the same thing. It's critical to have the great setup right now. And here's a shot from the helicopter of Popeye, Dominic Visconti, and of course Jim Dyke throttling this boat. He's running nice and loose.
And they're all trying to catch reliable carriers as they come out of turn number 1 again. And we are going to be back to the waters off downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin in just a moment. More racing coming your way. The GMC Pro Grade Series for 2003 APBA Offshore, the GMC Grand Prix of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the 4th stop. This is Supercat Light Action. This is your leader, In Contempt, Paul Whittier and Pat Patel.
Now, we can't forget about this great points battle that we have between In Contempt and, of course, Liquid Metal. But here is White Knuckles in second place right now, doing a fine job putting the heat on In Contempt today.
And Liquid Metal is back in third place, so that will affect the point standings. At this point, you might say that the second place boat, White Knuckles, is really playing spoiler to this boat, Liquid Metal.
And speaking to them earlier, they wanted to talk about strategy. They said, most definitely, we're going to push it forward. It's too early in the year.
There you see the Dirty Duck boat. Now, normally Slug Hefner, who owns the boat, drives it, but Jerry Chastelet is driving it along with Joey Groton on throttles today, a favorite with the crowd for sure. Here's some more of our Supercat Light boats as we look back at American Dream. Bill Bevan, the owner of that boat, and also is inside the cockpit on there. They ran real well in our last race in Savannah. They're not getting through the pack this time.
Certainly are, and you know, again, setup is so important. This is a great shot of Steve Page right now with Page Motorsports. These guys probably missed the setup just a fraction of a bit, and this is what happens. In Contempt, walking away from this right now.
Boy, they are doing a job. You got to give it to Paul Whittier and Pat Patel. They have held that boat in there since the start. They got the inside very fast in turn number 1. White Knuckles was forced to go outside. They dropped back. Now they are riding in second place. They are holding very solid in second place. They made a challenge earlier, but they have backed off of that since. This is your third place boat, Liquid Metal. John Talley, the owner of the boat, along with the veteran Silver Fox, the wily Fox, if you will, Bob Teague on the throttles.
And great, back to Supercat racing right now, the other class today, and our veteran Jerry Gilbreth throttling the reliable carriers with his rookie driving the boat. Tom Abrams, also the owner of it, what a great day here in Milwaukee on Lake Michigan.
I think that is such an advantage for them to have a throttleman who can talk them through. And talk about veteran throttleman, this guy also is. Now, Hugh Fuller moved over to car racing, picked up Johnny Tomlinson. He's done great. This team has been together for a long time, the Rum Jumbie team.
Yes, Trace Martin hasn't had a full season yet in this race boat. They've only picked and choose a few of their races, but they will continue on to race the rest of the series for the rest of the season.
And that's also a new boat this year.
It certainly is. Dominic Visconti and Jim Dyke throttling this boat. I asked them earlier if they were going to continue on with the series, and they were hoping to. Dominic's a busy guy, and they're hoping to free up some time to get him out to race the rest of the season.
WHM Motorsports coming by now, the number 5 boat. This was a boat that was up in contention earlier and is very high in the point standings, but they are falling back on this one. Here's Airborne, Big Thunder Marine, the number 24. That is Randy Lineback, who owns the boat. Bob Morgan is throttling with him, another wily veteran. Here's the more or less hometown entry from Sheboygan, just up the coastline. This is the father and son team of Paul and Mark Nemshoff. They are in the Tommy Bahama boat. Again, to tell you, they are trailing the field. They have not run the boat much this year. I know it's a disappointment for them. Here's the Daytona Sun-Times boat. It is Danny DeSantis out of Massachusetts and Charlie Hames out of Florida. Charlie is on the throttles of that boat. They've done a good job. Paul Nemshoff, we talk about local knowledge. He says there is something to that.
Yeah, I think our water knowledge of the area will help a little bit. There are a little bit of nuances to the Great Lakes that we're real familiar with. This is where we grew up boating, and we're going to have a great day on Sunday.
Well, I know they're a little bit disappointed they didn't have the day they thought they were going to have, and that's partly because of this boat, which has just absolutely been streaking since the green flag. Reliable Carriers, wow, they are out in front, they are leading. Can they hold it to the end? We'll find out when we come back to Milwaukee. Back in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Dick Crippen along with Bruce Penhall as we present APBA Offshore Racing, the 2003 GMC Offshore of Milwaukee. And here's In Contempt, leading in the Super Cat lights. They have led from the green flag. This boat seems to be operating flawlessly.
It sure does. It's going back and forth onto each sponson. Remember the last race in Savannah, Georgia? The in-boat camera went to Paul Whittier when he actually missed a start flag drop.
And look what's happened here. Number 77, John Talley and Bob Teague have moved into second over the White Knuckles racing team. White Knuckles was actually challenging for the lead earlier, but now they have been dropped back to third place thanks to the great move by Talley and Teague. Here's Reliable Carrier. No move needed there. They just have to keep those throttle sticks forward and keep driving straight. When they have to make a left, make it. When they make a right one time on the course, do it and do it right. And they are being shadowed by this boat, the number 1, and then behind them, third place, Trace Martin and Todd Klingworth.
And Dick, this is Super Cat racing at its finest.
No question, these guys know. This used to be the Team Virgin. Now these guys got the sponsor of Rum Jumbie. They're doing a good job. Here's the Popeye boat. As Bruce told you earlier, first time out here. Great experience for these guys, and they're doing a good job. WHM Motorsports right behind them. Billy Moff, Jose Pepe Yama, they're used to being up in the front of the pack. Today they got left behind at the start. Reliable Carriers had the advantage at the start. They are the ones to watch out for because they have really held that boat in first place without anybody contesting them.
Abrams and Gilbreth up there in the lead, and followed by Bacardi Silver, Tomlinson, and Fuller. Really can't seem to bring anything back to these guys right now. And of course, Trace Martin right here in the 94 boat, Rum Jumbie.
But they also have to be concerned about a point race, and Reliable Carriers definitely is thinking about those points, and that's something that's got to be on the mind of a guy like John Tomlinson in this boat.
You do start thinking about the competitors that you want to keep beating, and maybe not necessarily about a guy who's running up in the lead pack that may not be in the points hunt right now. So as the year goes on, you start to think about that. But this race is still a little early for that. We're going to go out, run hard from the get-go, try and win this race.
There you hear the strategy, and that's what they think about every time they get inside that boat.
And Rum Jumbie in a solid third place right now, Dick. He's really trying to put the heat on the Bacardi Silver boat, Johnny Tomlinson and Hugh Fuller.
As we go back to turn number 1 out there, we see a little bit of action that's happening between the Airborne boat That's number 24. That's the outside boat. You can see inside WHM Motorsports is still hanging in there. Billy Moff just looking for a little opening. And here we see Tommy Bahama, disappointed because they're in home waters. But still, we're happy to have them out there, and they're happy to put on a little bit of a show for some of the fans here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
They certainly look to be a little bit faster as the day progresses. They're lightening up, and their setup looks to be working for a late day race.
There's the Daytona Beach Sun Times, and that boat has run very solidly in other races. You know, it's amazing the difference in water and how the boats respond to that.
You know, we keep talking about setup. It always comes back to setup. And here you have the doctor right here, Jerry Gilbreth. The thing's moving back and forth from sponson to sponson, and Abrams running a real tight race course, not making any mistakes whatsoever today. Right now, what's going through his mind is he just wants to continue on with his race, make sure that the Bacardi Silver boat is running on the outside line to protect that inside line the shortest way around the course.
And you know, it's all about water and prop selection. That's one of the things these guys talk about constantly. That makes the difference in how the boat will operate. These guys make a science out of thinking about things like that and knowing their boat well enough that they can make the proper prop selection.
For this race, it's going to be a little bit tough because flat water, but we had to find something that was going to be good on top, but we really needed something that's going to accelerate out of the corner really hard and pull them up to that close to top speed as fast as possible.
And that's what it's all about, accelerating as fast as you possibly can, taking into allowance the boat and the water. We are going to be back with more great racing in the Super Cats and Super Cat Lights in a moment. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, APBA Offshore, 2003 GMC Pro Grade Series, the fourth stop. This, the Milwaukee Grand Prix, presented by General Motors. And they're out in the lead for Super Cat Light, Pat Patel and Paul Whittier in the boat called In Contempt.
A flawless day so far. They were challenged earlier on by White Knuckles, but it doesn't seem to have any effect whatsoever on our leaders, Paul Whittier and Pat Patel.
As a matter of fact, White Knuckles has now been put back into third place by this boat, the Liquid Metal boat. This team out of the California area has done a great job of just holding it in there and waiting for things to happen. Meanwhile, there is White Knuckles Racing in third place.
And we can't forget about the overall points battle right now. Liquid Metal is out in the front, and In Contempt here is pulling up some points. They need more points to catch up to Liquid Metal in the overall standings.
So they've got to be very happy about that. We heard earlier from John Tomlinson, it is on the mind of the racers as they are on the course. Looking now again at the Super Cats, Reliable Carriers has been everything that Reliable says. They have been absolutely reliable from the green flag. There's Popeye, the brand new boat, doing a great job. Dominic Visconti deserves a great amount of credit for what he's done with that boat, getting it out here. Still, I think prop selection might have played into where WHM Motorsports is.
I've expected a little more out of Moff and Pepe Lama today, but obviously the setup is wrong. They're struggling a little bit today.
Well, there's one of the big Super Cats, an airborne Big Thunder going by the Dirty Duck boat on the inside, which is the Super Cat Light. Needless to say, the big Super Cat will have the advantage with some 1,200 horsepower. Tommy Bahama still kind of trailing the field, but still getting a very nice run. The boat looks good. It just hasn't developed the speed. And that I know has got to be driving him nuts.
And I had a chance to talk to Charlie Hames with the Daytona Sun-Times.
We got to stay ahead of WHM for sure, and if we can stay ahead of the Bacardi boat, that's our ultimate goal. We want to win this race. It's my 40th birthday. What better time to do to win a race in front of everybody here in Milwaukee?
Well, that was his thinking as he went out onto the course. Unfortunately, Bacardi Silver has left them far behind.
You know, Dick, if you were to ask these throttlemen, Tomlinson and Gilbreth, hey, it's Hames' birthday, I don't think they're going to put a blinker on and let him go by today. Don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so either. There is the Bacardi Silver boat. That is Hugh Fuller and John Tomlinson, an experienced team. They work as one. They are in second place, and now Rum Jumpy still holding solid, still riding strong. They are holding on to third.
And you know, we've talked about this earlier today. The strategy for all of these teams are not to hold back. It's too early in the season. They need to push. They need to push. They need to push.
They've got still about half of the season left. That means that they're going to have to be planning for these boats to run the rest of the way. Now, they've got some open ocean waters coming up. Oh, Rum Jumpy is going down on the course. Disappointing for that team, no question about that. Let's talk about the race strategy. Jerry Galbraith is a longtime veteran throttleman. He knows all about how you have to plan for these races.
We may be out of the points championship at this, theoretically out of the points championship, but it's still a boat race, and we've come here to win. We're not coming to ride around. At the beginning of the year, we were just getting seat time, and from this second half of the season, we're here to win.
Well, obviously, they've made a very big step in that direction because they have dominated since the green flag on this one. This boat, the US 1, made a little bit of a challenge in the very first couple of laps of this race, but Hugh Fuller and Johnny Tomlinson just didn't seem to have enough power to come up in there. They tried several times to get on the inside.
Yes, and obviously nobody has underestimated Gilbreth and Abrams with the experience that Gilbreth does have. Dominic Visconti in the Popeye boat hasn't had a full season out there, looking to have a very, very strong day. And Billy Moff has been a little bit quiet today, unlike the WHM Motorsports race boat.
Well, it continues. Great racing action in Milwaukee. We have checkered flags dead ahead. Let's take a timeout here for the GMC Pro Grade Minute.
Well, this truly is going to be an exciting new year for GMC. Introducing two new vehicles, this being the V8, the Envoy XUV. And with me today is Jim Herdwald, Zone Manager for Milwaukee. Jim, why don't you take us through a couple of the exciting new features that this vehicle has to offer?
Well, thanks, Bruce. You know, the Envoy XUV is really the most adaptable SUV offered on the market. First of all, the power rear sliding roof adds a level of functionality that's really never been experienced in an SUV before. Also, the exclusive midgate system, which we call next generation midgate with power window, is something that takes SUV functionality to the next level.
So there we have it firsthand. GMC on the cutting edge of technology.
Back on the race course, Reliable Carriers out in front, leading, not being contested at the moment. The Bacardi Silver boat is sitting back in second place. They have not closed the distance recently. We will be back with checkered flags ahead. Stay with us. They're getting ready to put out the checkered flags here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Dick Crippen along with Bruce Penhall, and these fans are ready to wave them home. And one of the boats that they'll probably be waving home will be the In Contempt boat. Now is when you start hearing all those little rattles and noises, thinking maybe something's going wrong. It's just been too good.
Absolutely. The start of the race, of course, is very, very tense, and then the end of the race, just like you said, Dick, they're thinking about every nut and bolt right now. All they want to do is finish in a good, solid position up there.
If they can possibly do it, Liquid Metal is now holding on to second place. They'll be happy with that because of the points battle that they're battling. They have got to just hold that boat where it is. Here's In Contempt now on the front straightaway. They're going to come down. They're going to take the checkered flag. This should be the finish for the Supercat Lights. Congratulations to Paul Whittier and Pat Patel. Kind of a combination there. Whittier from California, Patel from up in the New Jersey area. Bi-coastal thing, if you will. But they certainly got together and worked as one today as In Contempt takes home the checkered flag. Here's Reliable Carriers. Now we talk about that boat coming down for the checker. Here's another one that has a checker in view. Not quite on the front straightaway yet, but Reliable Carriers, again, just trying to hold off the US 1. Reliable Carriers in first, Bacardi Silver in second. It'll be first and second, and here's third place, Popeye. And, you know, I've got to say, these guys got to be happy with third place, first time out with the boat.
Yes, it's been a brand new boat, and they have struggled a little bit. They're still trying to dial it in. What a great showing here today in Milwaukee, a strong third place so far.
Well, they are doing great, and here is the fourth place boat. This is Billy Moff and Jose Pepe Yama in the number 5. There's Airborne Big Thunder. They're back in 5th place, the number 24 boat. They've had a good run, just have lacked in the power department, and that may be a prop selection. And here's the hometown entry from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. That is the father and son team of Mark and Paul Nemshoff in the Tommy Bahama. They just wanted to be here for the hometown crowd. But now it is all Tom Abrams, the rookie, and the veteran throttleman Jerry Galbraith in Reliable Carrier. As they come down now, they have the checkered flag in view. They are going for the win. Second place, It looks like it's going to be the big Super Cat with Hugh Fuller and Johnny Tomlinson, the cat called Bacardi Silver. And there's Popeye. Again, we say, brand new boat. You've got to be happy with the third place in this field. Now, there's turn one. Now, this will be the final turn before the checkered flag for the lead boat, Reliable Carriers. What a ride Tom Abrams and Jerry Galbraith have had in that boat.
Yeah, you can see the rooster tail up a little bit, the drives are up, and here he goes across the finish line. There's your second place guy today, Johnny Tomlinson and Hugh Fuller, but the win obviously goes to the Reliable Carriers, Jerry Galbraith and Tom Abrams.
Now the question is, do you take the boat and fool with it, or you let it run the way it is in the next race? These guys really did some good driving, especially in the first couple of laps when Reliable Carriers was out in the lead and US 1 was challenging from behind. So congratulations to the rookie Tom Abrams and the veteran throttleman Jerry Galbraith. They did a tremendous job. There you see the finish. Bacardi Silver, then Popeye, WHM Airborne, Tommy Bahama, Daytona Sun Times, and Rum Jumbie went out of the race early. We'll be back to recap our results and talk to the winners. Stay with us. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Dick Crippen and Bruce Penhall. You're looking out now at a very happy gathering. The GMC folks came down to sponsor this for the people of Milwaukee, and it's checkered flag time. Pat Patel holding the checkered and in contempt. Liquid Metal second, White Knuckles Racing, Page Racing, American Dream, and Dirty Duck for the Super Cat Light. Congratulations on a great job.
Well, Paul and the boys did a lot of testing. In fact, they took the boat all the way out to California, ran a divisional race. Did a lot of tuning up on it. The team did a tremendous job. Paul was great today and brought a winning package.
They had us covered speed-wise today. My hat's off to them. We did get kind of a lousy start. White Knuckles actually drove right under our bow at the start and kind of put us in a bad position, so we had to play a little bit of catch-up, and it's always better out front. It's an easier race out front, so we worked for about 6 or 7 laps, to make that up and get around them, but John did a great job today. We're doing good. We're real happy with our plays today. We're real happy for Paul and Pat Patel, and we're still in the overall national points lead, and that's it's the whole season that we're looking at.
Well, there's another checkered flag to go out, and this is a first. The Reliable Carriers boat taking its first win on the offshore circuit. Bacardi Silver, Popeye, WHM Motorsports, Airborne, Tommy Bahama, Daytona Sun Times, and Rum Jumbie. Let's go back to Bruce in the pits.
Well, I think as we got into the Super Cat Lights, there's traffic for everybody. I don't think it was just the Bacardi boat, but it certainly helped our cause. Tom did such a great job. He kept us in good position, and I helped him out a little bit in traffic, and he helped me out a little bit in steering. He did such a great job, and thank you to Mercury Marine for this. Was terrific. The engines ran just like a top, and we couldn't thank Mercury Marine and all the people at Reliable Carriers. This win we're going to share with everybody. We worked really hard for this. I worked a year for this.
I think Billy and pushed Airborne over, came over to us, and we looked straight at the rocks. We were going to hit the rocks, and we didn't hold our lane, so we had to hold it to make sure we got a clean shot to be able to get around the turn. I was afraid they might do that to us, and Airborne got pinched in there between us. We had nowhere to go. The pole position definitely helped Tom and Jerry. They ran an excellent race. Tom did an excellent job. Let's don't say he's a rookie anymore. He used the traffic well to block us. It set it up. Then he'd sneak inside. They'd come in, cut me off. We drove real hard. We overpropped a little bit today. We thought it was going to be a little smoother than it was. We thought we could carry a little more speed, and we couldn't. So we overpropped. They had the right prop, and they drove an excellent race.
We got damage on both sides of the boat. Jerry crawled up on one side. Bobby crawled up on the other side. We're back to the body shop again. Well, we got hit on both sides at the start. Then we got hosed down from 1 to 2. We were basically underwater the entire time. I think it's time to paint the boat a different color. Yellow is too much of a target.
We will see you from Sarasota next time. For Bruce Penhall, I'm Dick Crippen. So long, everybody.